This video, I want it to be a little bit different than usual. While this is a top 10 of my favorite Game Boy games, I wanted to discuss the importance of a man, or rather, two men, to the gaming space. We all know by now that Satoru Iwata passed away, and it's been a bit of an emotional ride for all of us for the past few weeks. So with this video, I wanted to not only honor Iwata, but I also wanted to honor Gunpei Yokoi, who, among many other things he's done in the world, was the father of the D-pad and the Game Boy. If you are interested in hearing more about Yokoi and his life, check out the YouTuber first for his wonderful tribute piece to Yokoi, the father of the Game Boy. Satoru Iwata, I met you briefly many years ago, before I even started the Completionist. Thank you for everything. I will never forget that for so many years, especially in recent years, your name is the last thing to appear on the credits as executive producer in so many games that I myself have completed here on the show. And in honor of you and to everyone out there who suffers from cancer, we're going to be donating the proceeds from this video to cancer research. So with that said, let's talk about my favorite Game Boy games, and not just Game Boy Color, Pocket, Mini. I know they're all the same thing, but the Game Boy in general, everything encompassing the Game Boy. Let's talk about it. The Nintendo Game Boy was one of the most revolutionary gaming devices of all time. Well, compared to today's standards, it seems pretty obsolete. Stupid even. But without this piece of hardware right here, we probably never would have seen portable gaming evolve the way that it has. Well, first there was the Game & Watch, but the Game Boy took it to a whole new level, almost like Nintendo perfected it from the very start. But thanks to it, and like, I don't know, 1.5 thousand AA batteries, we got to enjoy so many titles on the go. And if you want to feel old, check out this Kids React video to the Game Boy.
Kind of feel sad for the people in the past.
But anyways, that's beside the point, because today I present to you my top 10 favorite Game Boy and Game Boy Color games of all time. As a warning, a lot of these games are first-party Nintendo titles, because while there were a ton of great Game Boy games, just like always, Nintendo makes the best games for the Nintendo hardware. Also, these games will be a mix of Game Boy Color and Game Boy games. But for the sake of making the footage look as good as we can, we're going to be capturing all of them using Game Boy Color palettes. Hooray for modern technology.
Number 10.
Way down to the bottom of this list is Gargoyles Quest. Now I know what you're all thinking. They made a Game Boy game about the hit cartoon Gargoyles? Well, the answer is no, they didn't. But there was an awesome fake 3D Gargoyles Genesis game. I don't know what I just watched. I have no idea what I just watched. Maybe one of the weirdest of the bunch, Gargoyles Quest features a bizarre mix-up of RPG and platforming elements. One moment you're walking around using items in your world, and the next you're platforming, wall grabbing, and gently floating your way across various landscapes as a red naked demon? I mean, yeah, that's exactly what he is, now that I think about it. Gargoyles Quest stars Firebrand, an enemy from the Ghouls and Goblins series, and it's up to you wait, what the hell do you do in this game? I have no idea. But I mean, hey, I'm still having fun with it. Make weirder games, Capcom. Stop making weird games, Capcom!
Number 9.
Now I know what you're thinking. Metal Gear Solid is a great series, but those NES Metal Gear games were awful ports of far better Japan-only releases. Oh, that was way too specific. Oh, okay, sorry. Continue the video. Damn. Well anyway, this version of the original 2D formula is anything but awful. This game, which is known as Ghost Babel in Japan, has some of the most impressive graphics I've ever seen on the Game Boy. And the depth of the gameplay on this is even better than the original MSX2 versions of the original top-down games. Snake can even flatten against walls. It's awesome. Also, the game has levels instead of being open like the other games. And while this would be kind of weird for a console release, the fact that it makes the game more bite-sized and rates your performance per level is great for completionists like me. Plus, there's like 180 VR missions and even a 2-player link cable mode, which is awesome, though it might be kind of hard to find someone to play with nowadays. Check your local library to see if there's a Game Boy Color Metal Gear Solid fan club in the area. Maybe like 15 years ago. Oh, Yeah, those were never a thing. The story's pretty good though, at least I think. The opening cutscene, no joke, is like 15 minutes long.
Kept you waiting, huh?
Number 8.
Tetris, still in the eyes of millions, is the best game ever for passing the time. Gameplay you almost never have to explain. That classic Type A music we never got on the NES version. This game has it all. It's fun, it's easy, it's perfect, and it's practically ingrained in all of our brains. And I mean, come on, if you've played any game in your life, it's probably Tetris. Now, the reason why this is so low on my list is because there's so many renditions of Tetris to play nowadays. You can practically play it on anything. For example, my absolute favorite version of Tetris is Tetris DS. The Mario and Zelda skins and challenges in that game are so much fun. And it's one of the few original DS games I still break out to this day. I mean, come on guys, it's Tetris. It's the best goddamn puzzle game out there. Dr. Mario can suck a fat one, yo. Where do you even get certified? Tetris rules. If I needed a life-threatening operation, I would let Tetris do it before Dr. Mario would. Plus, every Game Boy came with it. Love that game.
Number 7.
Oh boy, here we go. Okay, Kirbys Dreamland by HAL Laboratory. Satoru Iwata worked uncredited under the direction of Masahiro Sakurai as developer/producer on this game back when he used to work for HAL before he rose to the ranks in Nintendo proper. The first in the series, Kirbys Dreamland introduced the world to our pink protagonist. And hey, he may be gray in the box art for us in the US, but we knew all along that Kirby was in fact pink. This floaty platformer about this cute, puffy cloud beast led us to have a character that could fly or eat anything or anyone, really. He's just a lovable vortex of doom. I could keep talking about my love for this game forever, but if you want to know, I already did review this game, so if you want my full opinion, give it a look right here. But besides that, suffice to say, though Kirby is Sakurai's baby, the success of this game is just another testament to what working with someone as encouraging and dedicated as Mr. Iwata can bring. And while the middle of a top 10 list isn't necessarily the greatest place to pay my respects, I couldn't help it. Thank you, Iwata, for this and everything you've done. Your legacy will live on for years to come, and you've inspired so many people.
Number 6.
I love pinball games. I am dead awful at them, but I love them a ton. In fact, my dream is to one day own that Super Mario Bros. Pinball machine. It's incredibly expensive, but one day, I'll make it my pinball machine bay. Why does everyone say bay? That's so stupid. In the meantime, though, before I get way too creepy, I've got Pokemon Pinball, one of the best pinball games, and in this case, even just Game Boy games of all time. Now, a little spoiler for this list, Pokemon will be making another appearance somewhere here, but here at number 6, Pokemon Pinball encourages you to catch 'em all in pinball form. But before you scoff, let me just say, it's actually a lot of fun. In order to catch a Pokemon, depending on the map, you'll need to knock your Pinball into the right pocket, and then hit the corresponding thing on the map to make the Pokemon appear. Once it's there, spell catch on the board, and boom, you've added that Pokemon to your Pokedex. The game is simple. The music is subtle remixes of classic main game tunes, and it's based off the original red, blue, and yellow versions of the game. So there's tons of content here, and yes, this indeed rumbles. A super memorable game whether you like Pokemon or not, but there's so much here for true Pokemon fans. Hashtag watch the decks. Wait, how did that get in here? Alex! Stop editing the script!
Number 5.
Shantae marks the end of the Game Boy, Game Boy Light, Game Boy Pocket, and Game Boy Color era. One of the last games released on the Game Boy Color, it's the perfect proof that not all hardware should be tossed out right away when it's reached the end of its life cycle. Made by the genius Playboys over at WayForward, this game came out all the way in 2002. And, fun fact, the music was done by my now awesome good friend and Shovel Knight composer, Jake Kaufman. We've got a really big project in the works for you guys here on That One Video Gamer involving Jake Kaufman, some other YouTubers, later this year too, so you know, get hyped for that. It's gonna be huge! Huge! Anyway, as I was saying, Shantae features our heroine using her hair as a weapon to slay her enemies and defeat a pirate gang. By collecting gems, she can power up and buy new skills, etc. to get her through the game's fun, tight Metroidvania goodness. Also, another fun fact, this is not only one of the more underground titles for the Game Boy Color, but it's also one of the most rare. Try to find a copy of this game and see how much it runs for. If you can find it for around $100, you're in that real good zone, I feel. It's hard to find, but it's so great. Like a VHS copy of Star Wars. If you have a VHS player. I don't know if you have that.
Number 4.
Wario Land is a weird title. Clearly labeled as a sequel to the Mario Land series, Wario Land has us controlling Wario for the first time in Nintendo history. Having just been introduced to him in Super Mario Land 2, we get to run around as Wario, being all greedy and chubby and evil and gross. Unlike most Nintendo games with clean, wholesome protagonists, Wario Land finally made it possible to play as that greedy man who cares about gold coins and treasure that you've always wanted. Now, the big issue I have with Wario Land is that it's not very diverse with regard to level design. It's pretty linear until you get to the later levels, but compared to how fun this game is, this really is more of a mini nitpick thing, and it still definitely deserves the great reputation it has amongst Nintendo fans. That's the thing about the Game Boy. It's the console that everyone grew up loving, technical limitations and all. I mean, come on! You could play it in the car, on road trips, to the Grand Canyon, with your whole family, and everyone just kind of ignores you. You sit in the back and you have your magnifying glass on your screen and you just keep playing the game quietly as everyone yells at you. And then you get out of the car and you take a family photo in the Grand Canyon all wearing bandanas, but then everyone forgets about you and they leave you in the car. And then I got yelled at for playing on my Game Boy when the photo went off. That's a real story. It's also the plot of Joe Dirt, kind of. Oh god, I'm Joe Dirt!
Number 3.
I told you guys it was going to appear on this list. You know what? I don't even think I need to explain why every version of Pokemon is on this list. Do I? Do I really? Alright, let's just list a few things. Okay. Link cables, multiple versions, gotta catch them all, anime cartoons, hats, shoes, shirts, collecting cards, even the shiny ones. It's without a doubt one of the most successful Nintendo franchises to date. Sorry, I was just yelling at why Pokemon was so good.
Number 2.
Now, before the world shivers in anger at me as to why I didn't pick The Legend of Zelda, Oracle of Seasons, or the Oracle of Ages, it's because, well, I've never played them. I will one day, though. But as someone who's played a lot of A Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past, The Legend of Zelda: A Link's Awakening was the perfect dessert to my Link to the Past-sized dinner. Everything about this game was cute, bite-sized, well-designed, and there was a Game Boy Color alternate cart which brought out the game's creepy Twin Peaks / Majora's Mask aesthetic even more. It's like a fan game by the actual Nintendo devs. I love it and it's great and you should too, so there. Also, if you want more information, give it a click right here. We also reviewed that one last year. Hey, I review a lot of the games I love. That's like a thing you should do, right? Review what you love, talk about what you love.
Number 1.
Super Mario Land had one of the best soundtracks, one of the best box arts, one of the best feels of taking what we knew about Mario and making it a portable experience. But then comes along Super Mario Land 2, The Legend of the Six Golden Coins, and suddenly you forget what Mario Land 1 was even about. This has got to be the perfect portable Mario game out there. The overworld is awesome, featuring a robotic Mario where you can go inside of him. Whatever. It has an overworld hub where you can play any level you'd like in any order. And we've got a new bunny power-up which lets you float down from high ledges. Tons of different awesome locales like space and inside of a whale. And we've got a whole new villain, Wario, which we did talk about earlier. Honestly, I was hoping that Mario 3D Land would be a sequel to this game, as this game is the perfect road trip game. Not feeling well? Long drive ahead? Pull over for speeding on the way to Vegas. Super Mario Land 2 is just for you. And yes, if you want to know more about this game, you can check out the review of it that we did right here on Super Beard Bros. We played it together early on, and we had a blast. I know a lot of these games are ones that I've already discussed, which is why I don't want to beat them like a dead horse. And that's why I'm kind of plugging these videos, because I want you guys to understand where I'm coming from. Cool? Cool, man. So there you guys have it, my top 10 Game Boy games, including Game Boy Color. Thank you guys so much. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching and still supporting us. We'll see you next week with what may be the first fighting game, at least in the realm of a fighting game, right here on the show on The Completionist. Until next Friday, guys. Take it easy.